I wish I could explain to you every single trade and give you all this brilliant. I can't do that. You want to know why? I'm one human being, and I don't watch 60 hours of baseball every day. Some of us have to work for a living. So I'm just going to give you some of the general trade deadline news, what I think about it on a basic level as a outside observer for some of these teams, and we'll have some fun with it. All right. So first thing I wrote down here, this is not a trade, but Mason Miller. I'll pray for you, brother. Like, that is, for those of you who are unaware, Mason Miller injures his hand. Well, initially the story is he injured himself on a medical table. Like we thought, like, oh, he punched it and he broke his hand or whatever, and now he's not getting traded, which obviously he ended up not getting traded. There was a little bit of clarification. Basically, he did not mean to slam his hand on the training table. Like, it was a mistake that Miller or basically he was frustrated, and he hurt himself. So Mason, I'm sorry to hear that, but well, you're staying in Oakland, which will soon be Sacramento, which will soon be Las Vegas, and probably soon will be in the bottom of the ocean. So yeah, just wanted to point that out. Secondly, here I've got Randy Arozarena to the Mariners. So Randy Arozarena, really sad guy in terms of his production this year. He has not been particularly good, but I always kind of liked him. And he goes to the Mariners. They need some offense. I suppose they figure he's a vet. He has some upside in that he's been a productive player. He's been an above league average hitter for most of his career, I'd say, and he's just sort of slowly falling apart here. I'd say it's probably a pretty good deal for the Mariners. The Rays made a lot of trades here, and they will probably end up winning most of those trades, to be fair. But hey, for the Mariners, they're trying to keep themselves in the playoff picture. I don't see a problem with this, really. One of the moves that I really like this for the Yankees, Jazz Chisholm going to the Yankees. I love Jazz Chisholm. I think he's a really fun player. Let me just take a look at his numbers this year. Jazz Chisholm this year, he's not blowing you away, but he's an above league average player, but he's fun. That's what I like about him. He's fun. Batting .251, he's a 1.5 WAR player, 15 home runs, 105 OPS plus 745 OPS. Is he, Jose Ramirez? No, he's not, but he's a fun player. He's a personality. And you know what? The Yankees need a little bit of fun. They need a little bit of spunk. They need a little bit of that. I think a change of scenery is going to do really well for him. I mean, right now, he's played in just a couple of games, and he's been tearing it up. 333, batting average, 1,000, slugging, 1,400 OPS. Obviously, very, very small sample size, but 10 plate appearances, he's immediately made a positive impact for the Yankees there. So good for him. Hope it works out for him. Sucks for Miami. They had to do a lot of selling this year. Really a shame. A team like Miami last year, they made the playoffs. And just a couple of years ago, they were in the playoffs in the shortened season. And I don't know. Something's just not right in the water there in Miami. Meanwhile, the Red Sox, they also made a trade for a bat. They bring in Danny Jansen from the Blue Jays. Danny Jansen, pretty solid, I want to say. I want to say he's had a pretty solid year. Little below league average in OPS plus, 94, 219 average. That's not very good. He's a depth guy. It's kind of buying, I guess, for the Red Sox. He's a name that I recognize. He's a vet. He's going to give you, he's never going to blow you away with a batting average. But he can show a little bit of pop. I mean, in 2023, he had a 114 OPS. He's just a few seasons removed from that. I think he could be a positive piece for the Red Sox. But yeah, thought it was all right. Thought it was an interesting move. Mets, though, they go and they get Jesse Winker. Jesse Winker from the Nationals. I don't know why. I was going to say the Wizards or one other Washington team. But Jesse Winker, really solid player. 130 OPS plus this year, 258 average, 2.2 WAR player, positive WAR player. I think this is a solid pickup for the Mets. Hey, the grimace Mets. That's what we have to call them at this point. They're making the moves. So good for the Mets. They go out and they get a solid bat, add to that offense. Yeah, the Mets might be making some noise here in the postseason, which would be pretty cool to see. Unless you hate the Mets, I don't know. If you don't like the Mets, then it wouldn't be cool to see it, I suppose. If you're like a Braves fan, it's probably not cool to see. Um, Here's one that kind of probably went under the radar for a lot of people. The Cubs trade for Isaac Paredes. So obviously, I'm a Tigers fan. And Isaac Paredes and I have a very interesting relationship. You know, there was a time in my life when Isaac was, kind of a little. I was like, oh, I can't believe it. We got Austin Meadows for Isaac. We get for Isaac. Who the heck is Isaac Paredes? Like, let me just pull up his time in Detroit. He was not very good. He batted 215 in Detroit, had a 65 OPS plus. He was bad. He's very bad. And then he goes to the Rays. He goes off. He all of a sudden becomes a stud. Now, granted, only a stud to those who are foolish. All right. I have been anti Isaac Paredes for a very long time, and I feel good about this. Okay. He had his little all-star year. Whatever. I don't even care. All right. People voted for this guy for MVP. He is a hitter that if he's put in the right spot, sure, he can be a solid bat. But he's got one really good year. I mean, like 2022, if you want to call that a good year, okay, fine. 113 OPS plus, fine, whatever. But he batted 205 that year. I can't do it. I can't do that. If you want to be Kyle Schwarber, go away. I don't want to see you. But goes to the Cubs. I don't really know what the Cubs are thinking. I don't know why they're in the business of buying, but okay. Tigers legend, Isaac Paredes. Look at him go. And the Dodgers also pick up Ahmed Rosario. So obviously former Dodger going back to the Dodgers. Ahmed Rosario, really solid player. 307 batting average this year, 113 OPS. I think it's a really great pickup for the Dodgers in an already loaded lineup. At this point, post-trade deadline, I got to feel like the Dodgers are the World Series favorites. I know I was talking about them earlier in the show, but they go on. They made some moves here to get some really solid players. Now, his .5 WAR is a little surprising to me. He's not that impactful, I guess, in winning games, at least at his position. But he plays a variety of positions, so he kind of plays all over the place. But hey, he goes back to the Dodgers. He had a pretty solid stint with the Dodgers last year. Had a 709 OPS, little below in the power department, so you're not feeling too great about that. But a 256 average, you'll take that for sure. So the Dodgers feel like they like him, and again, the Rays, they probably won that trade. Again, it's the Rays. I don't know what they use some sort of like. I don't know if they got what's the thing and what's the thing in Lord of the Rings that Saruman looks at? The Palantir. They got a Palantir. They're talking to Saruman. I don't know what's going on. They do some nasty stuff over in Tampa Bay. Here's one that was kind of weird for me. Yusei Kikuchi goes to the Astros. But why though? But why though? I don't have much else to add. Yusei Kikuchi has not been good this year. He really has never been all that amazing. Like, he's an okay player, but like he'll eat over 100 innings every year. I'll give him that. He'll eat close to 150 or so, maybe 120 or so innings. I don't really get it. Like, I just don't. I mean, people were talking about they traded a lot to get him, so maybe they see something in Yusei. So, and they need pitching, obviously, given Justin Verlander is out of the picture. So, okay, all right. Good luck, Houston. Or don't have good luck. I don't really care. Frankie Montas goes to the Brew Crew. So I'm always a fan of when the Brewers trade for a pitcher, because that pitcher will inevitably somehow just become a Cy Young. They know what to do with pitching. They're like the Tigers of the National League, where they just get a pitcher and he just suddenly becomes Cy Young. Like, look, Frankie Montas this year has been terrible. 5.01 ERA, a 1.436 WHIP. Not great with the Reds. But he's not, I wouldn't say he's, the worst player ever. And as far as I'm concerned, again, The Brew Crew, they'll probably figure something out. If they don't, whatever. I don't care. It's the Brewers. It's the Brewers. They're one of the. I want to say no. The Mariners are the only team in baseball that have never been to the World Series. The Brewers have been, but they've never won. So weird. They've had so many like players, like Prince Fielder. Now they got Yelich and Contreras. I don't know. They never really feel real. That's just me though. Here's a move that I did like though. Jorge Soler going back to the Braves. So the reason I like this move, and this is not really any statistical reason, it is purely because when they traded for him last time, they won the World Series. So I don't know. Maybe they're just like, all right, what's his name? Ronald Acuna Jr. got hurt again. What did we do last time? We traded for Jorge Soler, World Series MVP. We won. Okay, fine. I mean, he's a solid player. 116 OPS plus 240 average, 12 homer. Solid player. 1.1 WAR. He's a winning player. So hey, I'll take it. If I'm the Braves, solid pickup. Not Barry Bonds or anything like that. But hey, solid pickup. I think it's a good move. Move along here. We only got a few more I want to talk about. Josh Bell going to the D-backs. So this one I do like a lot. Again, Josh Bell, pretty. I mean, like maybe on the lower end of his swing in terms of his career. He's currently a losing player with a negative WAR, but he's only 8 points below an OPS plus, and he's going to the D-backs, and the D-backs, as far as I'm concerned, they're taking a risk, right? Like they've had a very bad slump coming out of the World Series run last year, so yeah, take a risk. I don't know. It's Josh Bell. It's got to be, and also I believe they lost Christian Walker. He got hurt, so they had to make a move to replace him. And hey, this is a guy who at one point was a Silver Slugger, and it's not that far removed. Just a couple of years ago, he was a Silver Slugger with the Padres and the Nationals. So he's been on the move for a while now. But look, I do think he still has some baseball in him. Let's see, how old is he? He's 31 years old, so he's probably on the lower end of his career. I mean, given he's just not an all-time great, but you could get some baseball out of him in the last couple of months. So I think it's a decent move for the Diamondbacks because, again, all you got to do is get in. Let's see. Trevor Rogers going to the Orioles. I think that's a really good move for them. Lefty pitcher. Again, the Marlins just fire sale, so they make the move. Trevor Rogers, though, really not a great year so far, but he's a lefty arm, and you'll take that. like if you're the Orioles, you need pitching. And look, he's got a 4.5 ERA, but in his career, he's a 4 WAR player. He's still pretty young as well. So he definitely could be entering into right now. He's going to be entering into his prime at age 26. So you could certainly make the case that they can make something work with him. So yeah, I think it's a solid pickup there for the Orioles. The Royals also go and get Paul DeJong. Paul DeJong from the White Sox, I believe. I think this was it's okay. Like Paul DeJong is fine. He's a pretty good player. The only reason I'm a little confused by it is Bobby Witt Jr. exists, so I'm not really sure why they would trade for the shortstop position. They also traded for Michael Lorenzen. Fun fact. I didn't put that down, but I remembered it. I mean, he's all right. He's a vet. He's been playing in the league for 7 years at this point. 30 years old. The Royals are a solid team, so I'm gonna say okay, pretty good, pretty okay. Not blowing you away with that. Move that I do for sure like here is Seth's Padres. Our good friend Seth's Padres. They go on. They get Tanner Scott. They get a lefty relief pitcher. This I like. This is what I want to see. Sub 2 ERA, probably one of the best relievers in baseball right now. Tanner Scott, really, really solid pickup there. He's got a 1.007 WHIP, a 1.18 ERA. Really solid pickup. This year he's an all-star. He's had a great year. I think it's a really nice pickup for the Padres who are in the midst of a playoff chase, and I really hope they can get into it. And hey, pitching will let you go far in the postseason. So great pickup there for the Padres. Really awesome to see. If Seth were here, he would also be in agreement with me because he liked the move a lot. We talked about it very briefly. So it's going to be good. It's going to be very good, hopefully, for the Padres. And then a couple more moves, or actually one more move here. Eloy Jimenez goes to the Orioles. Eloy Jimenez, he's okay. He was not the bat from the White Sox that I thought teams would be interested in. Luis Robert does not get traded. Garrett Crochet does not get traded. If I'm the White Sox, I'm pissed. Or at least I'm a White Sox fan. I'm pissed because those guys were really the ones who would get you the biggest haul, and you're about ready to, match the 2003 Tigers in terms of losing records. And your only trades were Eloy Jimenez and a few others. You made a decent amount of trades. I don't know every single trade that the White Sox made, but they trade Eloy Jimenez. They trade a few other guys, but the big guys you didn't trade. So I was a little like surprised by that. But Eloy Jimenez, he did win a Silver Slugger, 4 years ago in the shortened season. So that does anything for you. But yeah, basically every year since then, with some highs and lows there, he's still pretty young again. So he can potentially maybe give you something. But yeah, it's I would say it's a low risk, high reward sort of thing. This is his prime, 27 years old. So if he can get it together here in this latter half of the season and gives the Orioles a little bit of an offensive boost, hey, that team, I had them going to the World Series starting the year. And right now they certainly are in the contention for it. So yeah. So overall, I'd say this was a pretty entertaining trade deadline. There wasn't any of those like mind-shattering moves. You didn't have the Justin Verlanders on the move. You didn't have, I'm trying to think of other famous trade deadline moves. Randy Johnson, wasn't he in the trade deadline at some point? I don't know. That was before my time. You didn't have anything super crazy. Tarek Skubal stuck around. Garrett Crochet stuck around. Mason Miller, he stuck around. And Lou Bob, we already talked about him. He also stuck around. So in terms of the big name guys, nobody moved around them. But probably the biggest name was Jack Flaherty, and maybe Randy Rosarena or Jazz Chisholm. But overall, I'd say it was a pretty entertaining trade deadline. And we'll definitely see what it looks like by the time the postseason comes around, because that's when these kind of moves, you can really see their impact. Like if Jazz Chisholm for the Yankees, he's hitting bombs in the divisional round or in the ALCS. Yeah, Yankees fans will be feeling real good about that. I'll just say that. So overall, pretty fun trade deadline. I had fun. Does that count for anything? Am I allowed to have fun? Hi, it's me again. If you enjoyed what you just saw, hit the like and subscribe button. We do live shows every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Hope to see you there.